You felt it today, that strange pull toward nothing. Maybe during a meeting, maybe while scrolling, finding nothing worth stopping for. Maybe late at night, when there's nothing left to watch and you're not tired enough to sleep. And if you're like most people, it feels like a problem, like an emptiness that needs to be fixed immediately. But here's the strange part. Your ancestors didn't have this feeling for roughly 300,000 years. Not because they were busy, they weren't. They worked about 2 or 3 hours a day. The rest of the time was just empty. And inside that emptiness, something happened that changed everything. First, let's get something straight. Ancient humans were not busy all the time. The image of a caveman who never stopped working, that's not what the evidence shows. In the 1960s, anthropologist Richard Lee spent years living with the Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert. He tracked every hour of their day. His conclusion? Ancient humans worked about 15 hours per week. That's less than 2 modern workdays. The rest of the time, they had nothing they were required to do. No commute, no inbox, no boss, just time. And here's something almost nobody knows. The word boredom didn't exist until 1852. It was invented during the Industrial Revolution, not because people didn't feel the emptiness before that, but because what they did with it had a completely different name. So what did they actually do? The first answer is simple. They talked. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner spent decades recording conversations among the Kung. She classified thousands of hours of dialogue. During the day, when people were working, conversations were practical. Where's the food? Who's sick? What needs doing? But at night, around the fire, everything changed. 70% of evening conversations were stories. Not what happened today. Stories about spirits, about ancestors, about creatures no one had ever seen. Wiesner called it firelight talk, and her data showed something nobody expected. People who spent more time in these evening stories scored higher on social reasoning. They were better at reading intentions, better at resolving conflict. The empty hours around the fire didn't waste the brain, they built it. But talking wasn't the only thing that happened in the quiet hours. In 2004, archaeologists excavating a cave in South Africa found something unusual. Tiny shells with holes drilled through them. 75,000 years old. They were beads. You can't eat beads. You can't fight with beads. They do exactly one thing. They look nice. Someone, 75,000 years ago, had nothing to do and made something beautiful. Around the same time, in caves across Europe, people began painting. Bulls, horses, hands pressed flat against stone and outlined in red. The oldest confirmed cave painting is 45,000 years old. For a long time, scientists assumed it was ritual, religious ceremony, magic. But anthropologist Ian Davidson noticed something different. Most paintings are in the deepest, hardest-to-reach parts of the caves. No one lived there. No one passed through. Someone went there on purpose. His conclusion? Someone just wanted to draw. Not because they had to, because the emptiness asked for something to fill it. And neuroscience has a name for the brain state that produces this. The default mode network. It activates during boredom, daydreaming, and creative thinking. Boredom and creativity are not opposites. They are the same switch. Then there were the games. The oldest known musical instrument is a flute carved from a vulture bone, 40,000 years old, found in a cave in Germany. It wasn't built for survival. It was built because someone figured out it made sound. And sound did something to the people nearby. Anthropologist Brian Sutton Smith studied games across dozens of hunter-gatherer cultures around the world. He found the same pattern everywhere. Almost every ancient game mimics a survival situation: aiming, chasing, coordinating with a partner, making fast decisions under pressure. Games are a simulation, the brain rehearsing life without the cost of failure. But games required something else: a second player, rules, a shared agreement about what's fair. Boredom didn't just create leisure, it created the first version of law. But there was a darker side to this emptiness. Arctic hunter-gatherer societies, the Inuit, the Yupik, faced something no other group experienced quite the same way: the polar night. Months of total darkness, no hunting possible, food stored, nothing to do. The Inuit had a word for what happened to some people during this time: Perla Rornek, the weight of existence. They would stop moving, stop talking, stare at nothing. Western researchers who first encountered this called it depression. But anthropologist Louis-Jacques Doré, who spent decades with these communities, noticed something else. People who went through Perle rarely came out the same. They came back with something, a new route for the hunt, a story, a solution to a problem that had resisted them for months. The brain, pushed into extreme quiet, goes somewhere it can't reach any other way. The darkest winters produced some of the oldest stories we still tell. So, what did ancient humans do when they got bored? They talked around fires and built the social brain. They picked up shells and bones and invented art and music. They invented games and wrote the first rules of living together. And in the deepest, heaviest silences, they went somewhere their normal mind couldn't reach. Boredom wasn't the enemy, it was the engine. Now look at what we've done. The average person checks their phone once every 7 minutes. The moment any silence appears, a waiting room, a red light, a quiet minute before sleep, the hand moves before the brain decides anything. We built a world where boredom never gets to finish its sentence, a notification, an autoplay, a scroll. We are the first humans in history who never have to sit with the emptiness. And we are the first to voluntarily switch off the exact brain state that built everything we have. Your ancestors sat in the dark with nothing in their hands. And somewhere in that nothing, someone made the first song. The next time boredom finds you, maybe don't fix it.